Okay, in the last class, we have learned about receiving input from the keyboard, how to create variables, assigning values to a variables, and using operators for a specific actions, right? We have learned till here string operators, right? So today we will continue the same lesson. Okay, logic bingo by Tejas. So Tejas said, okay, to Mose, let us create a game called Logic Bingo. Okay, so let us create a game called Logic Bingo. There are 6 sprites for the 6 games. So these are the 6 sprites for the 6 games: cricket, basketball, football, athletics, swimming, and gymnastics. Okay, and cat sprite will ask questions and capture the response. So this cat sprite will ask a questions, okay, to the players and will capture the response. And instruction sprite will give the instruction of the game. So this is the instruction sprite. All right, so this instruction sprite will give the instructions of the game. Clear? Now Moss asked him, have you decided on the variables that you will require for the game? Then Jyoti replied, since the players enters 2 games of his or her choice, so we need to create 2 variables, game 1 and game 2, to save the choices. Okay, so they need to create 2 variables called game 1 and game 2 for this game. Now Moss said, good, what else do you need? Okay, for this game, what else do you need? So Tejas said, we can decide if a game combination is valid or invalid by comparing the 2 types of games. Okay, so each time the player enters a choice, we should also save the type of game. So each time the players enters a choice, okay, so they should also save the type of the game. So later we can do the comparisons and decide if the choices are valid or not. Okay, so we need 2 variables, choice 1 and choice 2. So they need 2 more variables called choice 1 and choice 2. So in total they need to create 4 variables, which is game 1, game 2, choice 1, choice 2 for this game. Okay, so Moss said, good. So what do you do next? They just said, import the sprite and position them on the stage. So they need to import the sprite and position them on the stage, right? Jyoti said, we have to also create the variables. Okay, so after they import the sprite on the stage, they also need to create the variables, game 1, game 2, choice 1, choice 2. So Moss told them, summarize the steps. Okay, before we see the steps for creating a game Logic Bingo, let's see the steps for creating a variables. Okay, we have learned in the last class also, but let's learn it again. To create a variable, you just have to click on data block. From data block, you have to click on this make a variable options. Okay, see step 1, click on make a variable to create a new variable. Okay, and in step 2, type the name of the variable in the pop-up box, okay, over here, and click OK. The new variable game 1 is created. So after we create game 1, follow the same step, click on make a variable, write the name here, game 2, click OK. So we need to create 4 variables, right, for these games: game 1, game 2, choice 1, choice 2. So follow the steps, okay, follow the same steps to create these 4 variables. Clear? Now let's see the steps for creating a game Logic Bingo. The first step is import the sprites and place them on the stage. Okay, so select sprites from the available sprite. If you can't find the sprites on the sprites library, you can paint the sprites, okay, or paint the sprites required for the game. So you paint the sprites. These 6 sprites you won't find in the sprites library. You have to create by your own. Okay, And then you will need 6 sprites for 6 games, right? And a cat sprite as a referee. This cat sprite will work as a referee of the game, and one of the sprite has instructions of the game. This sprite has instructions of the game. Logic bingo, you can participate in any 2 games, guess the correct combinations, and enter your 2 choice of games. This is also an instruction sprite. Okay, so you will have to create this instruction sprite also. Clear? So in total, how many sprites you need for this game? 6, 7, 8. 8 sprites. So the first step was import sprite and place them on stage, right, for creating a game logic bingo. The second step is create the required variables. So how many variables we need for that logic bingo game? 4, right? Game 1, game 2, choice 1, choice 2. So second step, you have to create the required variables. Here 4 variables are required. Out of the 4 variables, 2 variable will be used, okay, to save the names of the games, and the other 2 will be used for saving the choice of the games. Okay, and the third step, start the game. So first, hide the sprites and show the instructions for playing the game. Okay, first, in starting when the game starts, what it says, hide the sprite and show the instructions for playing the game. First, we have to hide this 7 sprite, okay, and we are going to show only this instruction sprites on the stage. Okay, and then hide the instructions and show the sprites after it display. Okay, after the instructions sprite display on the stage, this instructions sprite will hide, and then the rest of the sprite will be displayed on the stage. Okay, so these 2 are the instructions for the sprite. This instructions is for the instruction sprite. Okay, so when green flag clicked, this instruction sprite will show on the stage. It will wait for 5 seconds and then it will hide. Okay, next, this instructions is for the other sprites, this 7 sprites. Okay, when green flag clicked, the other 7 sprite will hide. It will wait for 5 seconds and then it will appear on the stage. Okay, I hope you're clear with these 2 instructions. Now, Mosk asked him, okay, how do you take responses from the player? So they just said, first, the referee sprites ask a question. Say, for example, enter game 1. Okay, the referee sprites ask a question, enter game 1. Next, the player responds. Okay, so when the referee sprite will ask enter game 1, the player will respond. Say, for example, football or basketball or gymnastic. Okay, then the response is saved in game 1. Whatever you have entered, that will be saved in the variable called game 1. All right, then Jyoti said, we need to save the type of game. Okay, we need to save the type of game. We can use broadcast instructions. Okay, so what does broadcast do? We have learned in the last class, right? Broadcast send out a signal to all the sprites through a message and then wait for some actions from them, right? So Jyoti said we can use broadcast instructions. So referee sprite can broadcast the name of the game. Say, for example, football. Okay, so the referee sprite cat will broadcast the name football. Then the corresponding game sprite will receive and save the type of game in choice 1. Clear? Next, they just said, again, let us use join instructions, which you will get in operator block. Okay, let us use this join while broadcasting. while broadcasting the name of the game, let's use this join instructions. For example, if the first game is football, then we can join it with 1. Okay, so the broadcast will go as football 1. All right, so this is the instructions. In broadcast, you will have to insert this join instructions, and in join instructions you will have to insert this variable called game1, because the response will be saved in what? Game1 variable, right? So game1 variable, and then in the next slot 1 and wait. So that means it will broadcast football 1. Okay, so most that's very good. Then Tejas again said, okay, if the choice of the game is team game. Now this game has 3 team game and 3 individual game. Remember, cricket, basketball, football, this is a team game. Athletics, swimming, gymnastics, this is the individual game. So if the choice of the game is team game, suppose you have entered football, then choice 1 is equal to team. And if the choice is individual type of game, suppose gymnastic, then choice 1 is equal to individual. Okay, and Jyoti said we can again use join, okay, join instructions to display the type of game. So say the referee Sprite will say what the first game selected is choice 1. Suppose you have entered football, which is team, then it will display team. Okay, the first game selected is team game. Okay, for 2 seconds. So most that's good. Now Jyoti said again, we can use the same sequence and logic for the second choice of game 2. Okay, we can use the same sequence and logic for the second choice of game 2. That means, see, we have to, what's the instructions for this game? You can participate in any 2 games, right? Guess the correct combinations and enter the 2 choice of games. So for the second choice, okay, we can use the same sequence. Now most that's correct. Go ahead and write the script for referee and game sprites. Now see, this is the 4th, 5th and 6th steps, okay, for creating a game logic bingo, the summarized steps. Remember, the first step was to import sprite and place them on the stage. The second step was create the required variables. The third step was start the game. So now let's see the 4th, 5th and 6th steps. So the 4th step is referee get sprite. Okay, so the referee, the sprite, will give an instructions, enter the name of the game enter the name of the game you want to play on sports day. Okay, so the cat sprite will ask you enter the name of the game. Now players respond by entering the name of the game. Okay, the players will enter the name of the game, say for example football or basketball. Okay, now set the name of the game in the variable game1. So the name that you entered will be saved in the game called variable 1. Okay, now the 5th step is game sprite. So this is the game sprite. Okay, so the game that has been chosen receives the broadcast, and then type of game is also saved. Okay, type of game, like whether it's team game or individual game, is also saved by the chosen game sprites in a variable called choose1. Okay, now in 6th step, referee get sprite, okay, will receive the broadcast and displays the type of game choice1. Whatever type of game is there in choice1, suppose it's individual game, so the cat sprite will display the type of game like individual, so that the players know the type of the first game that she choose to play on sports day. Alright, now see, Mo says to go ahead and write the script for referee and game sprites, right? So let's see the script of script for the referee sprite for choice 1, and this is the script for individual game sprite script if choice 1 is swimming, and this is the script for team game sprite script if choice 1 is football. Okay, so let's see the scripts. Let me just explain you. See, ask, enter game 1 and wait. So the referee cat will ask, okay, enter game 1. Now suppose you have typed football and press enter from the keyboard. This football will be saved in answer instructions, right? This answer instructions store the keyboard input. Remember, you have learned in the last class. Now set game 1 to answer. That means you're saving this answer. Okay, you're saving football in the variable called game 1. Okay, next the sprite cat will say what is saved in the variable game 1, football. Remember, so the sprite cat will say football for 2 seconds, and then the sprite cat will broadcast. Okay, broadcast football 1 and wait. Okay, so when the football sprite, okay, will receive football 1, the football sprite will say I am game 1 for 2 seconds, and football is a team game, right? So this team will be saved in the variable called choice 1. Now suppose you have entered here swimming. Okay, so when the sprite cat will broadcast swimming 1, okay, the sprite swimming will say I am game 1 for 2 seconds, and swimming is an individual game, so this individual will be saved in variable called choice 1. And then the sprite cat will say the first game selected is, if it's individual game it will say individual, if it's team game it will say team. I hope you are clear. Now let's continue. See, most sets again. Now that you have the script for choice 1, this is the script for choice 1, right? At the beginning of the game, the sprite will ask you to enter 2 games, right? So now that you have the script for choice 1, what should be the script for the next one, for choice 2? Okay, so Tejas said the script for choice 2 will be same as choice 1, will be same as for choice 1, except that the response of the player will be saved in variable called game 2. Right?